Well, a couple of weeks ago, many of our students graduated from universities or from high school, and school has started for many of them. One of them who graduated posted on social media their testimony about how the Lord led them from where they were through their journey in their studies. And surprise, surprise, that post became viral. In fact, it went viral so much that even news picked it up, major news picked it up. She was interviewed online, video was posted online, and up to today, as late as last week, her own university is beginning to promote the story that was posted. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Okay, some of you know, some of you who don't. So for those of you who don't know, well, one of our very own here at ICS Church, actually part of our pastoral team, but she took a break, a hiatus, because she felt led to go into a medical school. And so this morning we want to hear her story. How did that happen? From theology to biology. What is that journey all about? This morning, please welcome, as she shares her story, Pastor Dr. Loribel Bontilao.
Thank you so much po, Pastor Chad. Good morning, ICS Church. I will not be preaching today. So I'll just testify. I'll read this very quick. So thank you, Pastor Chad, for that introduction. So I posted my testimony on Facebook and want to share it here as well. So my goal was to testify about Jesus to both Christians and non-Christians and to people of all beliefs. It took me 3 days to write, and I still felt it wasn't finished. But the Holy Spirit strongly urged me to share it online, and believe it or not, with a prior vision that it would go viral. Here's what I wrote about my empty journey. I started med school at 31 with 2 kids and finished at 35 with 3. I'm a graduate of a Bachelor of Theology with no medical background. I have lived with lupus for a decade now, which flares up in stressful environment like med school. During clerkship, I got pregnant and gave birth by a cesarean section, but clerkship had to continue after 2 weeks. I had countless reasons not to make it, and it is another story that I still made it on time, all by the grace of God. Looking back, I can hardly fathom the daily struggles my family and I endured. But why endure? The desire to pursue medicine was never in the picture until my family and I were called to pastor a church in Lanao del Sur, where we experienced the chaos of the Marawi siege and in a little way helped the refugees through relief distributions and other humanitarian efforts. It was during the time I realized that those were not enough. Many needed immediate medical attention in remote places like Lanao. The desire was not nurtured in my heart. What if I could also be a doctor? It was one of my prayer time when God spoke to me about this direction. It was crystal clear. It seems impossible without knowing how to provide for it. But God is always ahead of us. When He calls, He provides. Months before I returned to Manila from Lanao, a person whom God had burdened, whom I call Anja, also a doctor, offered to sponsor one medical student, covering all expenses through Tito RD and Tita Winnie, our close friends and family in faith. With everything falling into place, I was thrilled about my medical journey until reality hit hard. The biochemistry and physiology lectures were overwhelming with medical terms entirely foreign to me. One page of reading took me an hour to comprehend. And I studied for 4 hours for a 10-item quiz but still failed. The crying moments and frustrations made me realize that God's call does not mean an easy path. It is always a test of faith. I endured because I am fully convinced of this calling. I embraced it. I dream of God's dream. I desire His desire. I see the doctor in me with a purpose to touch lives and honor Jesus. Indeed, this post went viral and gained attention from various media platforms and news outlets across the country. Actually, I still have ongoing project with 700 clubs, even in Asia right now. But it is Jesus. It was Jesus, and it will always be Jesus. One headline from Pep reads, "From squatter to pastor to doctor," which captures my story well. These words remind me of the unbearable pain of poverty I endured growing up, so extreme that my family barely had even a pinch of salt. My father was a baker, earning below minimum wage, which was insufficient for his vices. My mother was a street vendor. With her meager income, feeding us 6 children was nearly impossible. It was already a blessing if we could have at least one real meal a week. Yes, you heard that right. Once a week, not once a day. From elementary to high school, I was a street vendor, selling anything on the streets except myself. I had many names, Miss Monay, Miss Tinapay, Miss Lumpia, etc., depending on what I was selling. My brothers worked as garbage collectors and scavengers, pagbabasura mga ngalakal. My eldest sister, at a young age, faked her age to go to abroad as a domestic helper, but had to escape multiple times from abusive employers. I took care of my youngest sister, Jane, and when she cried and asked for food, I gave her soil to eat. Lupa ang pinapakain ko. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing about my life. Both the good and the bad were meant for good. Today, my family has made a big progress. My siblings and I all went to college. My parents now own a tiny house in Bulacan. My entire family accepted Jesus. Since then, we have never known hunger or thirst. I was 13 when I was saved. 13 years old. When I was saved and baptized by the Holy Spirit. It was a crucial and timely intervention because I had attempted suicide twice at that age. Iyak lang muna ako, sandali ah. I was reached out through a community outreach effort led by Pastor Sam, who became my husband 7 years later. I was 16 when I entered seminary and 18 when I began pastoring a church. At 20, I graduated with a Bachelor of Theology and married my Superman husband, Pastor Sam. Together, we have served the Lord with such zeal that it might seem foolish to the world. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord to the ends of the earth, whatever it takes. Even it means completing an MD for the gospel to be heard and felt, or facing challenges up to the point of death. For I should have been long dead if not found by Jesus and saved by grace. Let me end with this verse. Revelation 12:11. And they have defeated him by the blood of the Lamb and by their testimony. And they did not love their lives so much that they were afraid to die. To Jesus be the glory.